I've had diabetes for probably about 18 years now.
Jorge describes the burning in his feet. This is a classical history of peripheral neuropathy.
In relation to diabetes, I believe that the complication that I am sort of starting to have is the fact that I've lost some sense in my feet. It is a peculiar thing because while there is no feel, it is a very painful thing. It produces a pain. It's a burning sensation. It is quite annoying. Not a big bother when you're walking and doing things in your daily routine, but it does become a problem, for example, at nighttime. When I first get into bed, there is that burning sensation in my feet.
What was your response to having diabetes?
In trying to control diabetes and in trying to learn to live with diabetes, I have gone through, I suppose, an array of physical and mental processes where, of course, on first realizing that I was a diabetic, my reaction, I think, was that of total denial. I believe, a very pragmatic sort of a person. I don't believe in resting in problems, so I sort of put myself out of this. And I took a lot of emphasis in following the instructions of my doctor at the time, who put me on to a dietitian, and I followed the rules. And as a result, because I was doing the right thing for myself, it was hard to believe that I was a diabetic. My sugar levels were very well controlled. I lost a lot of weight, and everything went okay. Unfortunately, and I think the doctor was spot on when he said to me, do not believe that you're cured. But silly man's brain says, oh, you're doing all the right things, you're feeling well, and I let myself go. I sort of started steering off diets and eating more and doing less exercise. And over a number of years, I suppose I degraded back to my original very high glucose readings. And that type of situations, it's not the kind of thing that you want to explain to anybody. To say, I suppose it's difficult to say, look, I've let myself down, or I'm not doing the right thing for myself. You always tend to think that, let's open brackets here, bullets will not kill you, so you tend to let yourself go.
Needle phobia.
The testing of my diabetes control and my blood sugar levels and all that has been a problem with me, because way back in my life, I think it's probably good that I explain this to you. I was born in the first half of last century. Penicillin wasn't a very much a freely available thing. And apparently I came down with an infection of some sort, which made me spend a lot of time in bed. I remember this, and apparently I was very young. And my father and my mother are sort of a bit concerned, well, not concerned, but they expressed some disbelief that I do remember being sick, because apparently I was only 2 or 3 years of age. But those were the glorious days of chloramphenicol, and it was fed to me intravenously. It was given to me in form of injections, and I think that somehow, somewhere, in that part of my life, I took an aversion to needles. I could not do it. Apart from that, I personally feel I'm the typical bloke. I look scary, big, black, ugly, and all that. But I have no problems confronting situations in life, physical type. But it's incredible what a needle or a doctor does to me. I think it's fear.
Blood glucose testing devices.
When testing devices, I have had, in all honesty, not a lot of experience. I have only had 2 types of needles in 2 types of testing devices in my life, in my 20 years of being a diabetic. I don't find a difference because my brain's still saying to me, this is going to hurt you, boy. Psychological problem, that knowledge that there's going to be a pain involved, a total realization that really it's not a pain, it's more of a bother. But because it has to happen that many times, and to a person that doesn't like needles, 4 times a day is a hell of a lot of times. It is a very difficult thing to come to terms. If you ask me to do a test now, you will say, I freeze.
Erectile dysfunction.
The other problem associated with diabetes, and of course you're quite correct, is that it does create erectile dysfunction. For the last 4 years, I started developing this that I didn't know exactly what it was. I took it to a skin specialist, and the reality is that the answer, the advice from the specialist wasn't exactly what I wanted to hear. But it gave me an excuse, because it was producing discomfort and it was producing pain, really, achieving erections and actually doing the sex act, if we want to coin a phrase. It gave me an excuse to avoid the underlying problem, which was that there was an erectile dysfunction there. I understand that it is a problem that is exacerbated by my lack of control of my diabetes. And now that my diabetes, in my very ignorant opinion, is better controlled, the problem seems to be going away. It is. I cannot say that I am 100%, but I have no real dramas functioning in the sexual side of my life. I don't have to have excuses anymore because I have done a procedure to cure my phimosis. The whole process, although it's only 2 or 3 months since the procedure, everything seems to be returning to normal. There are still, I wouldn't say a severe, but there is still a problem where sometimes my brain rushes me into things that my body won't do by itself. So I do have to mechanically make myself hard to do what is expected of me as a man, I suppose. It is a bad feeling in the sense that we don't like the world to know that we have a problem. It is difficult to talk. It is difficult to talk to anybody about it. I have a large family. We're all male brothers. We talk about different things, and sometimes in conversation, things like this do come over. Not that we look forward to that type of conversation, but things come up, and especially because we're all reaching that age where things do start happening with our bodies. But it is very, I don't know what the word is, but very uncomfortable to hear about, shall I say, prowesses that you personally don't feel you can master anymore, and it gives you a sense of loss of face, loss of quality and ability. We all tend to think that we are very strong and virile and all those things. And you personally, when you have this problem that diabetes creates, you become very subdued. I started noticing my loss of anger. In my early days, I used to be a very angry young man. Okay, I would go looking for a fight. I would go looking for a physical challenge, and all of a sudden, a few years ago, and I was already in my 50s, I realized that I didn't have that drive anymore, and it's annoying. It puts you down. But having said that, it is very difficult for you to tell anybody about this. People will make jokes with you and you'll laugh along, but your brain will be thinking, okay, you can't really do that. I think now that things are improving, it is a help in my total life. It is helping me with, funnily enough, with the control of my diabetes. Why? Because it is making me get up, put one foot in front of the other, and go and do, an hour or an hour and a bit walk. Get on a push bike and ride a push bike. Get out there and do some gardening and do all the physical things that I believe that a man that has problems with his sexuality avoids for some reason. I think we tend to go and sit on the couch and perhaps put a pair of slippers on and just sit down and watch television or read a book. I'm a believer that men should be perhaps physical in their attitude. And when you realize that there is a problem with your manhood, yes, I suggest that it will create a mental attitude, and we would call it depression in a lot of cases, and it probably will be depression in a lot of cases. In some other cases, it will create a feeling of sorry for oneself. In another cases, you will start giving yourself so many excuses, it's not funny, and you will accept those excuses, and you live with the problem because, hey, that was a good excuse. You had a pain there, or okay, perhaps we look at our wife and we say, okay, you don't look as good, and that's a good reason for me not to be interested. And the reality is, I think, totally in our own problem, based and totally in our own problem. How difficult it is as opposed to talk to a physician about the problem, I can tell you, because there are two things. Our physicians are normally, they become very good friends with us, patients, but they're still somebody else, and in a lot of cases, physicians do not ask the questions. Please don't take this as a complaint. On the contrary, but my general practitioner was a female, and there was no way in the world that me as a man was going to say to the doctor, please have a look at this, what's my problem? You just don't do things like that. Why? I don't know. It's the way we brought up. I was perhaps a little shocked that somebody took an interest in this, and I'm really appreciative, because if somebody hadn't asked me the questions, I would have never told. I think, especially with us boys, we don't tell there is a problem.